But the key idea underlying his view of learning in organizations is this difference between what he calls tacit knowledge and explicit knowledge. Now, explicit knowledge is what we learn from reading books. Explicit knowledge is what we've taken in, thought about, conceptualized. So you have, if you're in a business, you have a theory of product development. Well, you may not have thought about it a lot, but if someone asked you, what seem to be the most important practices and principles and infrastructures to help products get to market, you have a theory. Now, you may or may not call it a theory, you can use other words, but you have answers to their questions. If you have 25 years of experience, you've thought about this. This is called explicit knowledge. It's the knowledge we can verbalize. Okay? The man who inspired Nanaka, who I mentioned a minute ago, his name is Michael Polanyi. He was actually a mathematician and philosopher. He had a wonderful statement he made many, many years ago. He said, "We know far more than we can ever say." We know far more than we can ever say. If someone asks you how you walk, try explaining it sometime. You can even take something really trivial, like tying your shoelaces. And imagine somebody who doesn't know how to tie shoelaces wants to learn, and so you're going to write it down. Make it explicit. Try it. It's a really interesting exercise. It seems so simple. It seems trivial. But if you actually try to write down how you tie your shoelaces, you'll find it's not so easy. Moreover, if you could write it all down and you gave it to somebody who does not know how, they would read it, and you think they could then tie their shoelaces? No? Of course, it's kind of silly, but again, it gets to the same point. That's actually not how we learn. Polanyi's famous statement, "We know far more than we can ever say," is really what's called the theory of tacit knowledge. Now, I personally don't really like the word tacit too much because it's kind of a jargon term. Tacit versus explicit. For me, the better term is embodied knowledge. Most of our knowledge is embodied. It's actually in us. We know how to tie our shoelaces, most of us. Some of the kids still just like the Velcro, so maybe they don't do it. But we know how to do it. And we know how to walk, and we know how to drive automobiles, and we know how to be a friend. Now, we don't know everything about how to be a friend, but we learn through our whole life. We learn all about human relationships. We know what it means to be a parent. We know what it means to be a son or daughter of aging parents. Our knowledge is vast, very little of which we can verbalize.